Before we begin tonight's story, if you're drawn to whispers in the dark, secrets buried deep, and spirits that never left, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell, because what comes next is not something you want to miss. Not everyone in the morgue gets a name. Some are buried beneath cold concrete, their truths sealed in the shadows of basement number 9, episode 1, asterisk, the freezer that wouldn't open. I haven't been found. I was in the third compartment from the left, second row, under the freezing layer of steel, under the seal, and next to a rotting corpse whose face was nearly gone. I lay there for 23 years. No one opened that door. No one touched me. I don't remember exactly what day I died, but I remember that night. Clearly, the last night I was alive. Literally. I am Emma Carlene Howard, 24 years old, administrative staff at the psychiatric department, Northwoods Hospital. In 2002, our department received a special case, a female patient with extreme obsession with her own face, constantly smashing her head into mirrors and clawing her skin off. I wasn't involved in her treatment. My job was just handling files and scheduling appointments between doctors and patients. But I was the last one to see her alive. Or more precisely, I thought she was alive. The patient's name was Mara Densley, 26 years old, transferred from a small town near the state of Michigan after being missing for 3 days. When found, she was locked inside an abandoned warehouse, padlocked from the outside, with an unidentified pool of blood beneath her dot. When brought to the hospital, she said nothing, ate nothing, didn't respond. Her eyes wide open and empty. But that night, the night I was on shift, Mara sat up, walked straight to the door, and whispered 3 words to me. He hid bodies. I still remember that look. Not madness, not panic, just certainty. 3 days later, Mara was transferred. I never saw her again, but I started hearing strange noises in the basement file. Room, knocking, soft, repeating. Always 3 beats. Knock, 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 knock. At first, I thought it was rats. Later, I thought it was a message. My death was no accident. No one at the hospital knew that, or they didn't want to know. The body brought into the morgue that day had no tag, no record, no one came to identify. I was dismembered. I knew that. I could feel my body no longer whole when they shoved me into the body bag. I could feel blood still seeping from somewhere inside as they lifted me onto the metal table. Open it again. No need. It's ruled a suicide. I wanted to scream. I tried. I didn't commit suicide. I was murdered by someone who wore a white coat every day. His name was Richard Fallen, chief forensic doctor at Northwoods Hospital. And he was the one who placed me in freezer number 3. No autopsy, no death certificate, no stitching, he said. This body's not needed anymore. Close it up. I still hear him say that every night he didn't kill me because I knew something. He killed me because I didn't know anything. I was just a nail in his way, a tiny piece in a bigger plan. But I happened to see something no one was supposed to see. A body bag pulled out at midnight. No permit, no signatures, no notice. And in that bag wasn't an adult. It was a child. A girl about 10 years old, neck broken, eyes wide open, skin bluish. I saw it, and I'd been watched since that day. Fallen was smart, but he wasn't clean. He ran an underground body disposal network, including unclaimed patients, nameless people, or children who died under suspicious conditions. With no investigations, he erased traces, forged papers, and renamed corpses. Once, I even heard him on the phone. No need to bring the body back. I'll mix it into the poison batch. I didn't understand what he meant, but I understood those bodies would never be found. The night I died, the lights in the morgue hallway were turned off on purpose. The main switch was pulled from the power room. Only senior staff had access. I followed a voice from the basement. There was the sound of water, the sound of a metal door opening. I went down. I entered the body's storage room, and I never came back out. He stood there in the dark. No white coat, just black gloves and a silver nylon bag. I don't remember what he did. I only remember him saying, "You saw something you shouldn't have." I woke up in darkness, couldn't move, only heard the hum of the freezer. I knew I wasn't alive, but I could still hear. I heard other bodies breathing softly, broken breaths, not from lungs, from blood. I heard someone moaning, "Please, open. I'm so cold." I tried to shift, but the steel was sealed tight. Time didn't pass. Only sounds. They shut the hospital down after the scandal of missing corpses. But no one talked about me. No one opened my drawer, even though my name was still on an unfinished file, forgotten in an admin drawer. I'm still here. Drawer number 3, second row, door unopened. No one opens it. 10 years later, a group of workers came to demolish the hospital basement. I heard drilling, sawing machines. I wanted to scream. Finally, I was about to be found, but they passed by, didn't touch the drawer. One man said, "This one's stuck, sealed shut, Leave it. I screamed. I really screamed. Every sound in me burst out, but no one heard. Then I started to learn how to whisper. I whispered to anyone who came to the basement. Guards, electricians, drifters. Just 3 words. I haven't been found. One heard me. A young guard named Louis. He placed his ear on the steel door, whispered back, "Who are you?" I couldn't answer. But I showed him in a dream, a hallway full of blood, a silver body bag, an arm reaching out from a drawer, and my face before it was torn apart. Louis quit the next week. Didn't tell anyone. I know Richard Fallen is still alive. He's never been investigated. Even though the Michigan Forensic Oversight Committee had a file on him, they lacked evidence. Those who accused him either died or disappeared. He lives in a town near Lake Erie, changed his name, works as a consultant at a private medical center, still wears a white coat. I saw him in a trainee nurse's dream. She stood inside the cold storage room. I whispered in her ear, "I haven't been found." She flinched, fainted. No one knew why. I don't want to scare anyone. I just want to be opened, to be touched by light, to be called by name. If someone reads the 2002 hospital records, if someone opens drawer number 3, second row, they'll find me. A strand of my hair still there, a piece of collarbone not yet rotted, and inside the body bag, a handwritten note. Emma Carlene Howard, not suicide. He killed me. But no one opens, no one searches, and I still whisper every night. Whenever someone enters the basement, I haven't been found. Episode 2, asterisk, the color-blind coroner. He saw the blood, but not its color. My name is Elliot Granger. I died at 18. I died with my eyes wide open, and no one knew why. The death certificate said, suicide due to brain trauma after a fall from the 3rd floor balcony. Forensic report, no signs of foul play. Injuries consistent with accidental impact. Hospital record, no prior psychiatric history. They closed my case just like that. A clean death. No blood. No screams. No explanation. But the truth is, I was poisoned. And the one who poisoned me was my father. My father was a famous man. Not to the world, but in the town where I lived. He was a model figure, family doctor, face of public health campaigns, sponsor of summer camps, always wore crisp white shirts and a smile just wide enough not to be hated. His name was Dr. Marcus Granger, and he was a cold-blooded killer. No one believed it. No one ever suspected. As for me, I found out too late. I began to suspect my father at 16. When my mother died, in a fire ruled as an electrical accident. But I knew for sure. My mother didn't smoke, never overloaded outlets, and always checked everything before leaving home. The fire happened right after a fierce argument between her and my father over a mysterious wire transfer from a foreign account. I overheard it, and after the fire, the account disappeared. I tried to investigate. I found receipts for flammable materials, paid with his card, but no one looked into it. No one wanted to investigate a model doctor like Marcus Granger. I kept silent until one day he offered me a cup of peppermint tea, something I'd loved since I was a child. And from that moment, I began to seize. I don't remember when I collapsed, only that my legs stiffened. My heart pounded like it would burst. I looked up, saw my father watching me, eyes unblinking. Not panicked, not sad, just observing. I saw him take out his phone, call someone. Not an ambulance. No yelling. Just one sentence. He had the tea right on time. The hum of refrigeration, the sliding of metal doors, wheels scraping tile, and knocking from somewhere. I knew I was dead. Not from a fall, not from an accident. I was murdered, and my father erased all evidence. And he didn't perform the autopsy himself, but he chose who would. A man who couldn't see colors. A colorblind forensic pathologist named Dr. Stanley Corvain. Corvain was hired by Northwoods Hospital at the end of 2001, replacing a retired doctor. Corvain had an excellent record, full credentials, but carried a rare flaw in his field. He couldn't distinguish red from dark brown. This wasn't public. He used symbols, scanners, color filters to compensate. But in cases involving hemolytic, toxins, or mixed gastric fluids, he could confuse clotted blood with caffeine, or stomach blood with wine. And my father knew this. My stomach sample contained traces of ricin, a slow-acting, odorless, colorless toxin when dissolved in tea. But under the naked eye, ricin leaves no mark unless mixed with blood, and my blood had already clotted. Corvain looked at the sample, shook his head. No abnormalities. Maybe just stimulants. My file was closed. My body sent to basement. Freezer number 9, 4th compartment. I heard everything. I wanted to scream at Corvain. Blood mixed with ricin. But I was just a frozen lump of flesh. I don't know how much time passed. Only that, after a year, Corvain no longer worked there. They said he went insane after one autopsy when he saw a bloodless corpse rise from the table and point at his eyes. I didn't rise, but I whispered, I whispered to him all that night. You saw the blood, but not its color. He screamed, smashed things, clawed his own eyes. After that, no one ever saw him again. And my father, still alive, still a symbol. But he started dreaming of me. I stood at the foot of his bed, holding a cup of peppermint tea, and said, "Want to drink with me, Dad?" His hands began to tremble. He stopped treating patients, withdrew from all organizations. But no one arrested him. No one found me. I wait. I whisper into the dreams of new interns, into the minds of those who enter the morgue. I tell them about him. I show them images of my father brewing tea. I let them taste peppermint, then the feeling of suffocation. Some wake up crying, some quit, some stay silent. But eventually, someone will reopen my file. Someone will retest the gastric sample. Someone will re-examine the blood that Corvin misread. I don't need peace. I need the truth revealed. And if one day he dies in a locked room, no cause, no toxins detected, check the peppermint tea, asterisk, asterisk, episode 3, asterisk, the death certificate with nitrogen monoxide, cause. He never lied, but he never told everything. I don't clearly remember how I died, not because I was in pain or my memory was erased, but because no one ever told me how I died. My name is Beatrice Lowell, 36 years old, accountant at Northwoods Hospital before becoming one of 12 death records with no cause. I was the 7th body, but not the first to speak. The first was a 3-year-old child lying in the freezer near the brick wall. No name tag, frozen solid, face scratched with tiny fingernail marks. Death certificate read, cause of death, unknown. No signs of foul play. The doctor who signed it was Dr. Julian Carrick, a man who never made mistakes. Dr. Carrick was once the pride of Northwoods, a forensic examiner with an almost perfect record over 28 years. He didn't talk much, always wore white cotton gloves instead of latex. And one thing stood out. He had never changed a single cause of death after signing the certificate. That earned respect. But to us, the 12 lying beneath basement 9, it locked us in eternal silence. Because what he didn't write, no one dared to change. I don't know when I died, but I remember the last night when I saw a strange report. 12 death records in 18 months, all signed by Dr. Carrick, all missing a cause of death. Not an oversight, not a typo, but a blank space left intentionally in the cause of death section. Only a dash. No words, no symbols. Just the final line. No foreign object detected. No signs of physical trauma. I once thought maybe these were sudden deaths. But 12 people, from a newborn boy to an 89-year-old woman, all processed identically. Same signature, same report format. No coincidence is that perfect. I brought this to Dr. Kudek. He didn't get angry. Just looked at me through his glasses and said, "There are things that should not be explained." I asked, "Why?" He smiled, gently, not mockingly, just sad. Because when you write the cause, you are forced to believe in it. The next day, I disappeared. I woke up in basement 9. No body bag, no paperwork, no name tag. Just a nameless body lying on a cold metal table, not entered into the system. I heard faint breathing around me. Someone whispered, "I was the second." Another voice, "I was the fifth." No one looked me in the eye before closing the drawer. A hoarse voice, "I still remember the autopsy light, but never saw him write anything. We all knew we had died, but no one knew why. And all of us shared one thing. We were examined by Dr. Carrick, and our cause of death was left blank. One of us, a young woman named Clara, once tried to revive herself. She threw herself at the metal door, scratched WHY on the wall, slit bloodless wrists to leave a mark. But by morning, everything was gone. No one saw it. We were erased from time. No cause means no existence. Then, one day, a new intern entered the basement. His name was Evan Rule. Young, serious, unafraid of the morgue. But that night, when Evan opened my drawer, I whispered, "Ask him why." He jumped, saw no one. But the next night, Evan quietly traced Dr. Carrick's records, and he discovered every unexplained death had one thing in common. Each was brought in after official hours, with no family present. He checked the hospital's security footage. No recordings of any admissions. He asked management, was warned. He asked Dr. Carrick, was told only one thing. I didn't write the cause because no death ever occurred. Evan began to doubt his own mind. But that night, as he slept at the hospital, I appeared. I wasn't terrifying. Me, still in my office uniform, a dark mark near the collar. I didn't speak, just handed him a file, 12 death certificates, and pointed at the blanks. He woke up, left the hospital, never came back. But a week later, he sent an anonymous letter to the Board of Medical Oversight. There are deaths that were never diagnosed. There are bodies with no causes. And there is one man who never lied, but always hid what needed to be said. Dr. Carrick was investigated. He didn't resist. He stayed calm. But no one could find a single line in his reports that explained. A true cause of death, when forced to explain, He only said, "They died from things, not of medicine." The case was closed. No specific charges. No one is guilty if there's no medical error. But from that point on, he disappeared. They say he moved into a wooden house near the woods, no longer performed autopsies, no longer wrote, "As for us, the 12 we remain in basement 9, unmoved, untouched." Sometimes I hear someone walking by. I whisper, "Ask him why." If you ever pass by the old morgue at Northwoods, if you hear the sound of metal scratching on walls, if you see a sheet of paper drift to your feet with nothing but a single dash, know this: some deaths are never called by name, and some truths can never be written. Episode 4, Asterisk, the body with the wrong name. It's not me, but it's not someone else either. I have no name. Not because I forgot, but because it was taken. When they pulled my body onto the cold steel table, the tag on my foot had a name that wasn't mine. And my body was sent to another family with another name and a cause of death that didn't belong to me. I died because someone needed someone else to die. I am Logan Farrell, 39 years old, residential electrician. I had no criminal record, no debts. Just lived a normal life with my elderly mother and my little sister, Heather, 16 years younger than me. And I died right in my living room. No one knew, no one saw, because the body that was taken out wasn't mine. It started the night Heather ran away. She was 23, smart, quiet, and had a boyfriend named Damian Cross, a name I never liked. He was 13 years older than her, always wore suits, no matter where he went, spoke softly, to the point of sounding like a lie. I warned Heather. She just laughed. Until one night, she called me in the rain, "Brother, if anything happens, don't trust him." I didn't understand. No matter what I asked, she wouldn't answer. I called back. The phone was off. I searched. 1 week. Then Heather came home, alone. She said nothing. But from that night on, someone washed our house. I started seeing strange footprints in the backyard. Crumpled papers stuffed under the door. One night, I opened one. It said, "She saw the body. You'll be the next one." I thought someone mistook me for someone else. But no, I was the replacement. That night, while fixing a light in the shed, I was hit on the back of the head. Didn't see a face. Didn't see a weapon. I woke up in the Northwoods Hospital basement with a foot tag that read Jacob T. Miles. I didn't know who Jacob was, but the documents said he was Damian Cross's brother-in-law, and he had just died in a car accident. But somehow, the body in the bag was me, and my name, erased from every system. No relatives came to claim me. No one remembered Logan Farrell ever existed. Heather missing, a mother sent to a nursing home. Every trace gone, and the man behind it all was Damien. I heard him speak. He came into the morgue, looked through the freezer slot, and whispered, "Don't blame me. I just needed someone else to die. You had no family, no wife, nothing to lose." He was wrong. I had a name, and I had a voice. I began to whisper. I whispered to the person opening the freezer each morning. Wrong name. The morgue janitor. Wrong body. I whispered to a nurse who wandered into the basement. I'm not Jacob. At first, they thought it was an echo, but one of them, an intern named Monica, began to suspect. Monica reviewed Jacob T. Miles's death file. In the scene photo, Jacob had a large Celtic tattoo on his right shoulder. The body in the morgue had no tattoo. The skin was smooth, no cuts, no ink removed. Monica reported it to her supervisor. They laughed. It's probably a paperwork mistake. She didn't give up, opened medical records herself, compared fingerprints. Result, no match. And then she started hearing me. I didn't appear as a ghost. Nothing scary. I just stood there as myself and said, "I'm Logan." They changed my name. I died in someone else's place. She cried, not out of fear, out of sorrow. Then asked, "Why did he do this?" I didn't answer. Teether did. In a text Monica found on a discarded phone near the forest behind the hospital. I saw him kill Jacob. I didn't dare say anything. He threatened to kill Mom and my brother. And then my brother really died. I'm sorry. Damien killed his brother-in-law for insurance. But Jacob had someone to identify him. He needed another body. One no one would claim. No one would search for. He chose me by dragging Heather into a spiral of fear. And when I died, Jacob's body was switched, buried under my name. A real man died under a false name. A false man was mourned as real. I was erased. Monica tried sending evidence to the police, but the email was blocked. She was suspended for unauthorized access to deceased individuals' data. She left Northwoods, but before she did, she came back to the morgue one last time. I stood there among the freezer drawers and softly said, "I still don't have a name." She placed a piece of paper on the autopsy table. On it, she wrote, "Logan Farrell, not Jacob. Dig up the real grave." Then she left. Didn't look back. 3 weeks later, someone anonymously requested DNA testing of Jacob T. Miles's remains. Result, not Jacob. Identity unknown. Police began to suspect Damien Cross, but he vanished from the state, left no trace. And me, still lying in the basement, between two names. No one really knowing who I am. If you ever pass the old Northwoods Hospital, if you open the wrong freezer drawer, if you find a man's body with his eyes still open, ask his name. If he replies, "I'm not Jacob," don't be afraid. Just write one line. Logan Farrell. He once existed. Episode 5. Asterisk. Never stitched back together. I once lay on that operating table, cold, colder than any winter I've ever known. Back then, I was no longer a student, no longer a nursing intern, no longer someone with a voice, with resistance, with breath. All I had left was flesh and incision, and I remember I was never stitched back. My name was Melissa Quinn. I was 23 when I left this life. I was a final year student in forensic nursing. My last internship, and also my forever, was at the morgue of St. Helens Hospital, now shut down due to a scandal of missing corpses. I was one of those corpses, but let me tell you, I didn't die in an accident, didn't die from medical error. I was murdered, and the one who killed me was the man I once called a mentor, the man who led me into this gray world, the man I trusted completely in the earliest days of my career. Forensic. Dr. George Cranwell. George was a living symbol of autopsy science in this region. Every student wanted him as a mentor. His hands were sharp as scalpels, his mind cold as a freezer. George always wore white glasses, a spotless coat, and spoke with immaculate manners. But you know what? A clean coat can't hide blood from within. I was the last to see George's true face when no one else was in the room, when the steel door locked from the inside, when no camera remained, no classroom light, when I was only a body on the table. It all started on a late night. George asked me to stay after our internship shift. He said there was a rare case not listed in hospital records, needed urgent processing, an off-the-books lesson. He smiled. I naively nodded. So stupid. When I entered the room, there was a gurney covered tight. George told me to prepare full stitching tools, muscle suture thread, curved needle, gauze, suction pump. No photos were taken, no report written. When I asked why, he simply said, "You don't need to know who this is. Just do your part." Then he removed his gloves and locked the door from the inside. I never had a death certificate, no cause of death, no missing person record. Why? Because George never reported me missing. He told everyone I quit the internship midway due to stress. When my family filed missing reports, the file read, "History of psychological struggles, had taken academic leave before." I was buried beneath the morgue tiles in room 3 from stairwell 9. No stitches, No coffin, no farewell, only layers of cement and George's laughter pounding my body with every rhythm. George had committed crimes. That's not speculation. I saw it with my own eyes before I died. I opened a steel drawer he had forbidden anyone to touch. Inside were 12 glass kidneys, each labeled with patient names and date of death. None matched morgue records. I remember one said, E. Marshall, 14 years old, drowned. But the liver inside was pitch black, clearly destroyed by chemicals. George didn't just examine. He harvested, preserved, and trafficked organs. From unclaimed corpses, I touched it with my left hand, and the jar clicked open. George walked in, right at that moment. He saw me. He wasn't angry. Just stepped closer, put gloves back on, and said, "You saw what you weren't meant to." I ran. Didn't make it. The overhead lamp smashed into the back of my head. I fell. Blood pouring down my white coat. I still heard him whisper, "No need to dissect, Melissa. You're already perfect. We'll just keep you here. No one will miss you." When I woke, if you can call it that, I found myself on the table. My chest had been cut. Ribcage opened with specialized tools. No anesthesia. Pain, but cold enough to know I was no longer alive. When you die that way, you don't go, as they say. You stay. Each night, I still hear George enter that room, still dissecting, still whispering sweet nothings to the already dead ones. He caressed the body of a female student just brought in and said, "Melissa lay here once, too." I screamed. No one heard. I was not the only one. After me, I counted 5 female corpses, never logged, never stitched. No documents, no families, only heavy chemicals to erase the smell and quicklime under the tiles. George had a marking board. Inside the fridge drawer, drawn with a crossed-out flower. Beside it, a date and a handwritten note. Done. No stitch. One night, in 1998, a toxic gas leak shut down stairwell 9. A team of technicians went missing. George was said to have retired. No one investigated. No one searched. No one dug up the tiles to count how many lay beneath. The morgue closed. I and the others still lie there. To this day, I still lie in that room. No stitches, no burial, no name called. I've heard the sounds of hammers breaking walls. They're renovating the morgue into a storage space. They're about to tear up the floor dot. All I hope someone will see the forgotten incision, the still open chest, the eyes left wide, and ask, why wasn't she stitched back? And maybe then I can finally leave.